Well, if you finished watching the Amazon Prime original series Homecoming and you were scratching your head a little bit because it was kind of ambiguous or you weren't totally sure what everything meant, you're not alone. I even watched, I was like, wait a minute. I'm not sure about that. Did she, what? So let me first start off by saying this is going to have some spoilers in it. So if you have not seen the show and you don't want it spoiled, you should just stop watching now. I do have a review of the Homecoming series in another video. I'll link it below in the description so you can watch that just to find out if it's even something you want to watch. But in this, we're going to talk about spoilers, and then I would love to know your comments, your thoughts, your theories, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, if you agree, disagree, whatever that is in the comments below. That way we can have a discussion and hopefully build on it and maybe come to a true understanding of what everything meant. Sound good? All right. Well, so first off, we can all acknowledge, and we all know, and it's not really even it's not like the, ooh, scratching my head, that the whole Homecoming project is not to transition soldiers back into everyday life. It is to reprogram, to erase their memories, and then stick them back into battle. It is just this soldier recycle program. So we see in the last couple episodes where Julia Roberts really starts to put the pieces together and she's figuring out exactly what's going on, because as Heidi, as the therapist, she's talking with Walter and he is missing things. Like she talks about the Titanic rising gag that they played, and he has zero idea. And all of a sudden, he's not ready to go home. He's ready to be redeployed again. And so she's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then as she talks to Colin, Bobby Cannavale, you know, you just see all of the pieces clicking together for her. And she's finally now out of the dark that she had been in. She thought she was doing good. I mean, she probably had some kind of question. She knew that they were being given a medication, but I don't think she knew exactly to the extent of what it was going to do. And then you see her sit down and have the meal with Walter. Now, first off, it wipes her memory, but then it reboots him completely. And that's kind of a terrifying thing, that she knew that she was going to put him out of commission for at least a year. And then at that point, he's not going to have any memory of anything. And that's kind of scary and probably a little morally questionable. I love the way that they framed the shots and how they made the present in the narrow field, because if you think about it, Julia Roberts, most of her memory is missing. It is very narrow focused of what she sees and what she remembers. And so everything when it goes into present is this, that she's seeing this. But when she goes with Thomas Carrasco to the Homecoming facility and she hears the pelican squawk or whatever noise it makes, and the light bulbs go on, I love that they pull it out and you now get to see, oh my gosh, she has all of this new found information. Well, it's not really new and found. It's just she's beginning to remember, and it's coming back to her a little bit. It hasn't been gone permanently, and I think that was really awesome of the writers, the directors, even the podcast people, to be able to put that in there, and so that we see from this narrow field of vision to this wide field of vision where everything is now clear to her. I think probably the biggest thing that everybody is hung up on, and I am too, is in the diner scene, after Julia Roberts has tried to find Walter, and she's just happenstance, he walks into the same diner as her. And you see her struggle with, do I show him the map to try and trigger a memory? Do I keep it down? What is it that I'm gonna do? And when he just he sees her, and there could be a recollection there or a recognition, but he doesn't really let on, and he sits down. And still, you see her with her hand on the map, trying to decide, do I give it to him? Do I not? Do I eat? Yes. And I think probably some of Walter's mom's words are going through Julia Roberts' head when she had said, you know, he's finally back to who he was before all of this. And so if she shows him that, does all of the memories come back? Does Julia Roberts risk that? Because if he doesn't remember and then he does, how does that jack him up? Or does it? Maybe he captures everything back. Maybe it brings back all of the hurt and all of the turmoil of war and all the PTSD. And so she doesn't really want to risk that. And so ultimately she decides to keep it down. But then as she watches him leave and she looks down, her fork is tilted. Now, if you remember on the series, when Walter would meet with her, Julia Roberts had some OCD going on, and so she would have everything straight, all of her pens in a line, perfectly perpendicular to the sides of her desk, and everything laid out exactly. And he would always just tweak the pen just a little bit and watch her, and she would fix it, and he'd tweak it, and sometimes, you know, and then even when they super glued it as the practical joke, and it was crooked. And so at that moment, did he know? That's my question. I kind of think that he does know at least some of it, that he recognizes her, and that's why he did it. And it's a, hey, you can come follow me, or yes, we're on the same page, even though I have not acknowledged that I know who you are. But there also could be that whole underlying thing of it was just something that he did because that's who he was. He was kind of the jokester. I mean, you talk about the, you know, the Titanic rising, that whole gag and the prank that they were doing on their friend, that, you know, him to just turn it just a little bit when he saw something perfectly straight could have just been in his personality. And I don't think the filmmakers really mean for us to know exactly what it is. Now, I have heard that there are rumors of season 2. And so I don't know if Julia Roberts would be in there. I'm not sure that we could continue that portion along much further and have it still be interesting. I would much rather maybe they wrap it up a little bit or show that part of it. But then they focus now on Bobby Cannavale's character of Colin and Audrey, who was the receptionist and is now his boss. How crazy is that? And you just knew that was coming, as he is just so demeaning to her as he is speaking to her. And he's just like, oh, you're fine. You don't even need to know this. When is Guy showing up? Or when is Ron showing up? And he finally gets to it and is like, you need to sign this paper. There has to be a fall guy. It's going to be you. Now, one of the clues, if you watched all the way through the credits, because that's when the final scene of the series happens, is that Bobby Cannavale finally signs it, hands the paper over, and then Audrey pulls a vial out of her purse and she rolls it on her wrists. It's this red liquid. And before that, though, Colin has talked about how he transitioned the homecoming protocol into the care facility or the care side of things, and it was the roller project. Now, we don't know exactly what the roller project is. Maybe it's to reduce stress. Maybe it's to just help people forget about things in smaller doses or smaller batches, or maybe just as a comfort level. I don't know exactly what it means totally, but when she rolls it on her wrist, I think there's a big clue for us of what's coming next. Now, there's still one thing that I have zero idea about, and I am completely clueless on, and it's with Thomas Carrasco as he is emptying out all his stuff onto the desk when he's leaving. He's done. He pulls out the leaf and he stares at it, and that's the one that Schreier, one of the soldiers that had been kicked out of the program because it wasn't working for them or was having dire effects to him. He gave that to him, and you could see that Schreier was just, I mean, he was messed up. You know, that the homecoming project actually made him worse. So he not only still probably had PTSD, but he was jacked up and couldn't communicate and just didn't really know what was going on. And so he was in that weird state. And so he was just raking leaves for a job. But I have no idea what the significance of the leaf is. And I don't know, maybe that will come out later. Maybe it won't. Maybe it was just there for us to all think. Or maybe there's something and it was totally blatant and I completely missed it. If I did, hey, share it below. I'd love to know in the comments. Anyway, I hope that this clears up at least some things for you with Homecoming. I mean, it makes sense in my head. Maybe it doesn't in yours. Maybe everything I've said is complete bunk and you've got a better suggestion or a better theory. Let me know in the comments below because I really want to know. Let's have that good discussion. I appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.